everybody. All right, Kelly, thank you so much. Hi, everyone, alumni, beloveds. So I'm really excited about today, and not in like a happy, excited way, but like this is an important, excited kind of a way. And so thank you for coming or listening to the recording. We are in some crazy times. So let's just check in, everybody. Pop in the chat. Where are you in the world? And how are you doing in general? How are you doing? Where are you in the world? And how are you doing? Let me know. Let us know. Come on in. Let's see who's here. Alexandria, Virginia's here. LA is here. Love it. Newport Beach is here. Idaho, stoked. Ontario, our Canadians are here. Hello, Michelle. Portland is here. Phoenix, love it. Lexington, Kentucky. And Oregon, North Dakota, love it. Chicago. Thank you guys all so much for Boise, Idaho, Santa Fe, Honolulu. Hope you guys are staying dry. Our hearts are going out to all of you guys on the islands. So thank you for being part of this community and giving to this community and sharing with this community. Today, I was so excited to have a chance to talk with Jaimie. I mean, I've already met Rebecca, who's unbelievable. You guys have Rebecca and Jaimie here right now. It's just like beyond excited. And Jaimie and I talked about the work that she's been doing with moral distress and how this will be woven into the week that they're offering around wild resilience through outdoor adventure, May 3rd through 7th at Santa Fe. But what we're going to talk about today is this very important work around moral distress that many people have experienced or are experiencing. And we're going to have a chance to talk about it. So I'm very excited to bring Jaimie and Rebecca up to the stage. If you don't know these two women, they are ballers. They get shit done and they take no prisoners. So Jaimie, she's a licensed psychologist. She's a Marine Corps veteran. She's an endurance athlete, and she's a founder of Threshold Psychological Services. And she spent 15 years working with veterans, first responders, and high stakes professionals who are navigating trauma, moral injury, chronic stress. So she's built this perspective through her own military service, which she's going to talk about, and sitting with people who are strong on the outside and caring a lot on the inside. And Rebecca Rusch, come on now, 7-time world champion endurance athlete who will tell you all about this excellent shiner that she got in a minute. Don't make her laugh, okay? We've all agreed. Don't make Rebecca laugh today. But she is an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker. She's the founder of the Be Good Foundation. And she's had her career go from the Leadville 100 MTB. What's MTB stand for?
Mountain biking.
Mountain biking. Long distance expeditions, record-setting rides. She traversed the entire Ho Chi Minh Trail on a bike, and she had a concussion, and that changed everything. She had to learn to read her body's earlier signals to manage life changes and find new ways to manage her energy. And so she helped her to understand that she's been using emotional regulation tools for years without really naming them. And so she's now teaching others how to approach challenges more intentionally, which is very important when we're looking at moral injury and how we manage that. So thank you both for being here today on such an important topic and bringing your personal experience and your wisdom and also your dedication to making an impact to others. So really grateful to have you here. So Jaimie, I want to let you kick it off for us and maybe share a little bit about the exciting talk that we had to bring this together, and then kind of kick us off as a group of how we can begin to explore this together.
Yeah, you heard a little bit about our bios, and I want to just give you maybe a snapshot of my moral distress, moral injury bio. I did participate in the Iraq War. So I graduated the Naval Academy in May 2001. So, right before we got involved with decades of war. And I did participate in the Iraq War, and that was morally distressing. I had a lot of moral pain around that. I was leading Marines, and there wasn't a good way to do that with integrity for me. So I got out and decided to be a bike messenger forever, which you can imagine was fun and also ignoring some of the issues I had to deal with. So then spent about a decade. I went to seminary. I actually lived in a monastery near Santa Fe and Pecos, just doing my best to figure out that moral pain. And I landed finally in a place where I could help other vets work through their own moral pain. So I've worked in the VA system for 15 years and have been able to be a clinician, but I've also been able to develop and implement moral injury interventions nationwide. And I was also a consultant for Canada during COVID as they helped their healthcare workers navigate moral distress related to COVID-19. So I love this space. I've been in this space for a while, and I hope to just drop you into some of the things I've seen be helpful to people I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
want to,
Rebecca, do you want
yeah.
to add a little quick before we get some questions in? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, quickly, I'm a have been a lifelong professional athlete, but really, Jaimie and I met on the tails of a my pretty big moral injury was losing my dad at 3 years old to the Vietnam War. And fast forward 45 years later, as a professional athlete, I went and did an expedition on the Ho Chi Minh Trail to go to the place where he died and answer some questions, make some connections, and really sort of face that injury that was 45 years old head on through the bike, the way that I knew how to do it. And what came from that was actually a really big opening. People were like, oh, it must have been closure. And it really wasn't. It was an opening and awareness of what war is, what happened in Vietnam and Laos, how the people are, and the bombs that are still left there from the war. And came back with a mission to launch a foundation to clear bombs along the trail, to use the bike to help people heal. And so that's kind of a really macro example of exactly the kind of work that Jaimie does of like facing, accepting, taking on some action. If you want to see that film, it's called Blood Road. We've linked it. It's pretty fascinating, but it is a great example. I didn't realize it at the time, and I met Jaimie later on a bike. She went to Laos with me, and we talked about our collective experiences, and that brought us together. And so our collaborative work with MEA is merging psychology and physiology and the mind and the body together. So that is a lot of what we'll be doing in May and some of what we'll be talking about here because they aren't separate. The body and the brain and the nervous system are all tied together. So yeah, that's a bit of my experience, and it's been really cool to study this a little bit through Jaimie's lens and also realize that we're all having moral impact on us right now. So we'll get right into it. I will punch you back to Jaimie. Oh yeah, Jaimie put MTB Lao too. Yeah, she went to Laos with me. So I took people back to ride on the Ho Chi Minh Trail to basically see and experience the country. And that's where I met Jaimie. She came on one of the trips and I was just like, you're pretty cool. We should be friends. We should do more stuff together. So here we are today.
Here we are. So Jaimie and Rebecca put together a couple slides that they're going to pop in and out with to take you through some of this material. They're going to give you a PDF with some exercises that you can do on your own as a gift, which is very nice. Thank you guys for that. So Jaimie has some questions that she's going to fire off to you guys to pop into the chat. And actually, Kelly, we don't need that up yet. We'll just have Jaimie just ask everybody. So get your fingers ready. Also, you may be doing a little writing today.
Yeah,
in
get
this
a
hour.
pen.
So if you do have access to paper and a pen of some sort, if you don't, that is okay. But if you do have something close by, grab it.
And
Okay.
I want to encourage everyone, don't be afraid. These are simple tools available to everybody. Jaimie has really simplified it, and it's actually really fun and gives you some agency to be like, okay, I can do something here. So yeah, grab a pen, and Jaimie's going to walk us through some really science-based exercises that seem sort of easy and fun, but they really have a lot of psychology behind them. All right, Jaimie, take it away.
So these sentence prompts are a nod to Joanna Macy. She died at age 96 in September, and she managed to be a climate activist for 50 years or so. So you can imagine she was doing something right to stay in that game as long as she did. And so part of our resilience in the face of moral distress is being able to feel our feelings without drowning in them. Yeah, peace. She is a legend. I agree, an absolute legend. So we're standing on the shoulders of giants here. So my first sentence prompt, and you just throw your answers in the chat. I love. What's the first thing that comes to mind? I love. I love my life. Keep going. Riding my bike, being in nature, my daughter, living, the sun, trees, my kids, being in the redwoods, my family, trees, cooking good food, the blue ocean, foreign countries, the ocean, helping others. Yes, yes, yes. My dog, the ability to feel love and to love, sleeping well. My cat, helping, fixing, giving back, coffee at sunrise. Yes. Okay. Yes, eating a delicious homemade meal, community, coconut ice cream, adventure, great coffee. Yes.
Good stuff. I love it.
Okay, friends, growing vegetables, nature, mountains, forests, hazelnut gelato, coconut gelato, all the gelatos. All right, my girlfriend trips. Now we're moving to the next prompt. I'd like to thank. So you know all these things that you love. Who or what would you like to thank? My body, my family, the women who came before me. MEA, yes. My mom, the universe, my dad, all of the above. My younger self that persevered, my mom, my ancestors, Mother Earth, willingness to try. Yes. My resilience. Yes.
Good stuff. That was good stuff.
The wild combo of genes that came together to do what they do to create me. Ah, my body, my friends, my intuition, my spirit, courageous people before me. I'd like to thank people who listen with intent. Yes. My breath. Okay. People who are kind. I'm moving to the next question. Looking at this future we're headed into, my concerns include isolation, freedom, where to start, environmental impact, safety, humanity, erosion of the natural environment, kindness, staying in gratitude, non-duality, the children, the patriarchy, humanity, AI, clean water, humans that won't change in time, clean food, the divide among us fellow humans, death threats to public officials, tribalism, community. I cannot stand the thought my grandchildren may live in a war. I pray not. I will be able to put that will we be able to put Humpty Dumpty back together? Individualism, death by violence, inability to withstand conflict, greed. Yeah,
That's some heavy stuff.
authoritarianism. I think for me, I listened to Arthur Brooks' Midlife Chrysalis with Chip, and he said we're supposed to love each other, use stuff, worship divine. And instead, sometimes we use people, love stuff, worship ourselves. So I'm concerned about that equation. Using people, loving stuff, worshiping ourselves. So we're going to head back to these question prompts, but for now, I want you to sit in the moral distress. Everything everyone said. The greed, the authoritarianism, the extremism, the greed, the hate, the democracies, threats to democracy. So stay there. Okay. So let me just give you a little research. Why now? Why moral distress? Why moral injury? So this research started coming about in 2009 in the veteran community. The term moral injury was first coined by Brett Litz, who's a researcher in the VA, and it has since become a little bit of a zeitgeist of our times. So this concept is moving into many different domains, healthcare, around our Me Too movement, around race in our country. So there's a lot of research showing up all over on moral distress and moral injury. One thing I found fascinating in my own research is it really doesn't always depend on the event on how people end up working with it. Sometimes people internalize it. A bad thing happened, it's my fault. And some people externalize it. A bad thing happened, it's their fault. But either way, there's a way we can get stuck and this starts to snowball. And that's essentially what moral injury is. Something happened that violated my values. Something either I did or someone else did to me or I witnessed that violated my values. So that is a moral event, a potentially injurious moral event. The moral pain is what we feel related to that. And then the moral injury is how that starts to spin. So why does this matter? Well, we've seen with healthcare workers, about 50% are reporting significant moral distress, and that's linked to burnout, compassion fatigue, turnover. And in the veteran community, there's a study that came out this year that said veterans, healthcare workers, and first responders who screened positive for moral injury had 6 times greater odds of a suicide attempt in their lifetime and 3 times more likely to have thoughts of suicide in the last 2 weeks. So most of our research is in the veteran and first responder community, some healthcare workers, but everyone in this audience may have moral distress and moral injury right now. So it really matters that we figure out how to help each other get out of it.
Hey, Jaimie, I want to add, I love that you talk about what, a moral offense is something that offends your values. That doesn't always have to develop into an injury. And, if we use a physical example of that, if anyone has ever gone hiking and knows what a hot spot is, it's basically like your foot starts to feel warm on the back of your heel and you're kind of like, oh, there's something kind of bugging me. And that's not really right. And if you ignore it, it becomes a blister. That's the beginnings of a blister. If you take your shoe off, put on some lubricant, like massage your foot, change your socks if they're wet, then you can stave that sort of offense from becoming an injury. So, that's a really simple example of the fact that we're all feeling moral distress. There's moral offenses happening all the time, but we hope to empower you with something to do about that. You can't necessarily change the world, as we know. We're trying, but you can change, to Jaimie's point, how your reaction to it happens. So I just wanted to put that just normal human lens on it, because Jaimie's so dang smart and has been great at helping me be like, oh, okay, I get that. Yeah, so I just wanted to interject that kind of development, that not everything has to become an injury, even if it's offensive.
Thank you. And that, so let's hit this home with the illustration. Kelly, can you put up slide 5 with my little exploding thing at the top?
I think it's slide 2.
I do.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I have the wrong. Okay. So this is a little illustration of what Rebecca just said. So the moral offense is the event. That's the potentially morally injurious event. And then you have moral pain. So think about the moral emotions that you might feel. So you might feel guilt, shame, despair, horror, disgust, anger, sadness. You could be angry at yourself. You could be angry at them. You might be enraged, right? That's the moral pain. Again, this is Rebecca's hotspot. How does it become moral injury? Well, it's all the ways you try to escape the pain that add up to more pain. So let's say some things like you start drinking every night and then your sleep gets messed up and you start to have consequences with your health, or maybe you're just constantly irritable and it comes out to your loved ones, or you're yelling at your partner, or maybe you just hole up and you isolate. And let's say you never watch the news to the point where you're actually quite disconnected from the things that really matter to you. So picture in your own life how that might have snowballed on you. I'm actually going to give you a measure in a second so you could kind of see how you measure up to how we're thinking about this. So this thing can really start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So when I'm working with someone, I'm trying to get back to the moral pain to find the moral healing. So, Rebecca was mad and sad. And what were some of those moral emotions when you got to Laos and saw that it's the most bombed country per capita in the world when we didn't even admit to being there?
Yeah, I mean, I was angry at the military for most of my life, and my sister is a 31 year veteran, two-star general, and even when they found my dad's remains 40 years later, I didn't want to go to his service at Arlington because I was so angry at the military. And they even at the service, which was beautiful and honorable, they even did a flyover with jets, and I was so angry. I was like, okay, here's the thing that killed my father, and they're celebrating it by flying over it with fighter planes. And it just, yeah, I was so angry and really mad about it all and really sad on what I missed out on with not having a father. And I directed it all outward at the military, at war, at all these people who I had never even met. Even my sister, of how could she even be in the military? So that was, I moved past that, but that's a lot of it was anger.
Kelly, can you pull off the slide for a second? That's a powerful story. Yeah, thank you.
So as we're going through this, some of the stuff you put in the chat that when we went through those 3 questions, and I'm concerned about, think about that, whatever you put in that, and as we go through these, so you can kind of develop that, offense that you're feeling personally, and we'll kind of develop your little outline. And I'm just using mine as an example.
So let's actually go with that. If you're willing to be a little vulnerable here, the thing you're in pain about, how has that ended up snowballing in your life in ways that's created more suffering? So if you're willing to be a little vulnerable here, let us know. How have you tried to sort of manage, escape, avoid that pain in a way that really made it bigger and bigger and bigger for you? Isolating, avoidance, great. Taking it out on others, over planning and trying to control, guilt about not doing more. Yeah. So secondary emotions. Yeah. Perseverating, consumed by the news, finding facts, anger directed at loved ones, feeling like you can't talk to people you're close to. I kind of become cynical if I don't watch it, and then I stop believing in change. Bottle it up, because who will listen? Not trusting, no room for small talk. Loss of trust. Loss of hope. Trying to over control other things. Yeah. Exhaustion. And exhaustion, no doubt, because maybe you go on a superhero mission to fix a bunch of stuff that's really unsustainable. Yeah. So we got some shutting down, we got some like unsustainable superhero stuff, feeling disappointed in other people, which could be moral pain, but maybe if you are disappointed with everyone without really evaluating this person in front of you in this moment. Yeah, it's all those people you're disappointed with, not just that one offender, overwhelmed and shut down. Yeah. Yeah. Feeling so small and maybe just collapsing a little bit. Yeah. So let's see how you stack up with the research. So, Kelly, can you put that next slide on?
Number 3. And
So,
don't be scared. This was overwhelming when Jaimie first showed it to me, and I was like, what is this? But it's research backed. So Jaimie, tell us what this is, because I didn't understand it in the beginning. And then it was like, oh, yeah, okay. Those sentences make sense for me. Um, but
okay, so technically, moral injury is not a diagnosis. It's not in the DSM, although this conversation has changed something in the diagnostic statistic manual that we use for mental health disorders. It has changed something where there's a problem code for spiritual distress now as people have started this conversation. Litz, at Litz, who's the one that coined this in 2009, has been researching moral distress and moral injury his whole time since then. And there's experts around the world who've also began researching with him. So there is an expert consensus consortium in 2020 that put this measure together. So this is one of the leading measures that people are using to suss out if their moral pain has turned into moral injury. So if you look at the left side, that's some of the things people say they experience when they're in moral pain. And the right side is when it's really started to snowball into affecting areas of your life that you really need to preserve because you care about them. So I want you just to slowly take your paper or just count with your fingers which you endorse here. And if you're willing, just take the left side first. And if you're willing to put in the chat, like, dang, I endorsed 5 of those, or I endorsed man, I 10 of those line up for me. So just kind of see on the left hand side how many of those are true for you.
If anyone is having trouble reading them, let us know and Jaimie could read them out loud.
the one, Kari, and to the alums, I'll reflect that third one. People would hate me if they really knew me. It reminds me of the exercise that we do at MEA. If you really knew me, where you really kind of expose maybe some of the negative feelings you have about yourself. That one made me think of the exercise that we do at MEA that's so powerful. And again, there's no score, like Jaimie said. There's not like, oh, if you get 3 or above, it's, these are just the common sentences that in the studies have shown this is a pattern of the type of verbiage that people are responding to or aligning with. So yeah, we're seeing some numbers there. It's hitting home with some people. Me too. So if we read the second half of the slide.
Let's look over. Yeah, go ahead, Rebecca, you do it.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. So if we read over to the second half, and I can, from some of my own experience that I've already shared, this impact on functioning, yes, relationships with my family members, with my sister, I already shared. Like I was angry at her for even being in the military, which had nothing to do with my dad's death. It was, yeah, affecting day-to-day activities sometimes when I'd sort of like sit and think about it. Definitely lost faith and spirituality of like, why, why would this happen? So the question I have for you, Jaimie, is, if we look at the column on the left side and we respond to some of those sentences, and that's moral pain, is the right side, if we respond to some things on the right side, is that where we're moving into the injury territory, moral injury territory?
Yeah, we got a blister. It's more than a hot spot at this point, right? We've got a blister. And
And it's
like
affecting
Rebecca
me
said,
now.
yeah, I mean, this happens. We all get there. So if you're willing also now to take the right side, how many of those? I see some people are already answering, like, okay, maybe all to some degree. How much is this impacting your functioning? How many of those domains do you see affected? So we got three of them.
And I want to reflect too, this is some hard work, and the goal is not to remove moral pain from our lives, because we can't. The goal is to give you some tools, and in the worksheet that we're giving you as well, there's more tools. So this first is like accepting, recognizing, and it is distressing, but fear not. We're going to give you some tools to actually work with it.
Yeah. So really sacred space, noticing your pain and being here with you. You can stop the slide, Kelly.
Working on it.
There we go.
Okay.
Awesome.
Just look into these humans' eyes, like, hey, we're in this together. This is pain that we are feeling, and just see who's in the room here. I might cry. You can see I got a little tear.
Yeah.
Just emotional sweat. Can't be afraid to sweat. This is what I always have to tell vets. Oh, you're afraid to cry? That's just emotional sweat. Are you afraid to sweat? So I kind of shame them into crying, as you can see at work. So crying is fine. And crying speaks to our care.
And crying, doesn't crying release cortisol? I thought I read
I
something.
think it's good. Yeah.
It actually is a release. So yeah, if you're not human if you aren't crying with some of the things going on. Awesome. Thanks for being so honest, everyone. What do we do, Jaimie?
Yeah, what do we do?
Do about
Okay.
this?
What do we do? Well, my favorite intervention that's been really heavily studied over the last 40 years is called acceptance and commitment therapy. And that has a ton of evidence backing it. And we've been using ACT in this arena of moral distress and injury for about 20 years. And if you know anything about research, it sort of lags behind our implementation. So studies are now getting published about the efficacy of this. So Kelly, could you do that crazy spin slide?
That's slide number.
So this is a snapshot of how we might use acceptance and commitment therapy for moral distress. Look at the spin. I'm going to read it to you and just kind of feel yourself in this spin. So you can enter the spin anywhere, but this crazy moral distress happens, and maybe you start ruminating on the past and worrying about the future, and then you really lose contact with what matters. You're dissociated or you're panicked and you forget what matters. Then you start doing the things, whether it's just like eating chocolate and watching TV, or isolating or shutting down or yelling at people. And that really is violating your own personal code. So then you feel like crap and you self-recriminate and feel regret. And then you're telling yourself all these unhelpful stories about how much you suck and the world sucks and it's not worth it and nothing's worth living for. And now you're stuck in guilt and shame. And then you tell yourself more unhelpful stories about how it's all hopeless and the planet's definitely going to be over in 2050. And now I'm ruminating again. Can you feel the momentum of this thing that can really take off on you? Those words in the middle are the interventions that we've seen over hundreds of studies can be helpful. It's even better doing this at 4 a.m. Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us at 4 a.m. That is dedication. So Can we drop into present moment awareness? Can we reconnect with our values? Can we remember what it is we know how to do on the planet? Can we remember ourselves as really dynamically different in every moment? We are not any one thing, and we cannot be defined by our stories. Can we accept the distress we're feeling in order to drive mission? And then can we get enough space from the stories that are super unhelpful to where we can see something besides the story? So these are the tools. And given that I have like maybe 5 minutes left before questions, we are definitely not doing all these tools.
Take your
But
time. Yeah, I mean, we have some tools to give you. I'm going to put it in the chat shortly. And yes,
Yeah.
continue for a little longer. Go for it.
Our plan is to touch on 3 of these and give you some examples so that then our hope is you take the homework, it's not a homework assignment, but you take the handout home and you really have then some tools to dig in a little bit more. So we're going to touch on 3 of the interventions that Jaimie's worked with. But I love this circle because I can relate to that outer circle of just like spinning up. That inner circle reminds me of the also MEA, the like in the soup and that ball of yarn that MEA has for life's transitions of like it is a ball of yarn for a little while and eventually you straighten out that string.
Absolutely. So done with the slides for now. So we're just going to spend a couple moments on the tried and true attending to awe, which one of the teachers of MEA, Dr. Datcher Keltner, is a famous psychologist who studied awe, and awe is available to us at any moment. So I just want you to look in the room that you are in right now. You might not be in a paradise like Yosemite or something, but there's something in your room that you are in awe of. And I want you just to like give me a little hand when you have figured out the thing in your room. And if you can't think of anything, look at your hand, because that is an amazing thing. So find your thing and give me a little hands up.
I'm looking at a painting. What are you looking at, Jaimie?
You guys, I mean, I cheated.
Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. So find anything in your room. It could be a textile, a blanket that you have. It could be your own body that you're looking at, that you're in awe of. It could be each other, like Jaimie said, which is really great.
Okay, I want you to savor the heck out of it. So savor it. So get in your senses. What are you feeling, tasting, touching, smelling? What's novel about it? What's important about it? So just stay in a moment, just savoring this thing. What fills you with wonder about it? What, even if you use your best brain power, is beyond your understanding? So just touch all that stuff that makes this thing so amazing. Now agree to memorize it. Write it on your heart. Keep it in there. Don't forget. Let it change you.
And now link it. Yeah, go. Keep going, Jaimie.
Link it. All that moral distress you feel, and you can still have this awe. So link it. Like this awe is available even in the midst of moral distress.
I think what I like about that is that, I've read Dacker's book, of course, and it's amazing his work on awe. And you're just sort of like, but how do I even feel awe? Like, how do I need to go to Yosemite? Do I need to go to some exotic place? And I love that you just we found something in our room, but then the questions that you prompted, like, what's interesting about it? What's unique about it? Like, that actually helps you realize, oh, awe is accessible even sitting in your home office.
Or staring at your hand.
Yeah.
Jaimie, I love that you pointed out that both things can be true at once. And to hold those is really vital.
Yeah.
So we just dropped out of rumination and worry for a second. And the thing about awe that's lovely that Dr. Keltner actually figured out in his studies is that it is not subject to hedonic adaptation, which means that if you're just like, oh, I got to take care of myself, I need a bubble bath, but you don't touch awe, you your brain actually then starts to shut down your dopamine receptors, and it takes more and more bubble baths to have the same effect, unless of course you're experiencing awe while you're in the bubble bath. But awe is not subject to hedonic adaptation. It's not like a drug that your body's going to develop tolerance to. You actually, the more you feel awe, the more you feel awe. So it's quite amazing as a present moment awareness hack.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good strategy when we're feeling that overwhelmed to just drop into find a little mini awe, microdose awe, anywhere that we can find it. So that's a good first strategy.
Okay, next I'm gonna see if I can help you touch acceptance. And luckily Rebecca and I hashed and worked out this, and I realized I had to do a better job. So you're getting round 2. So I want you to just close your eyes and like kind of get the wiggles out. Drop into your breath. Allow yourself to kind of sigh. Let your shoulders drop. See if you can make your breath smooth and slow like a circle. And I want you to picture yourself as a little ball. And the smaller you get, the less surface area, the less contact you have to have with your moral pain. The bigger you get, the more surface area, the more contact with your moral pain, and also the more contact you have with your own power. So I want you to start small and just let yourself grow, 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 and keep asking yourself as you're growing, am I willing to say yes to a little more contact with this pain? And picture the surface area. Every time you say yes, it's growing bigger. You actually have more contact with your moral pain, but then also you have a little more sense of your own agency and your own power. No shame in staying a certain size, but just keep asking yourself, am I willing to say yes to this pain a little more, a little more, a little more? We all have to decide what's sustainable for us. We can't just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger forever. And you all have different resources in this moment and different obligations and different capacity and different energy in the tank. So just stop where your little inner knower says to stop. Stay right there for a minute and just put words to some of that pain you're experiencing in your mind's eye. Maybe some of those moral emotions, fear, anger, horror, guilt, shame. Maybe put your hand on your chest and just like, wow, yeah, there's a lot. And I'm willing to have this right now. I'm willing to have contact with this right now because it matters. Because this is my care. This pain is my care. This points to what matters. And just give yourself a little nod for your bravery.
I'd love to share a little reflection that goes back to the example of losing my dad. And if anyone is of the Vietnam War era or remembers, nobody talked about the war. Nobody talked to veterans. Nobody would hire veterans. They, were throwing things at veterans. And nobody talked about the war. Like you just didn't. My mom didn't even talk about it. And everyone stuffed that under the carpet. and didn't talk about it. They didn't like blow up that little balloon of like touching and discussing it and looking at it. We're in a different place now. And my journey was actually really hard to ask my mom all these questions. And I was in my 40s, and be like, well, what was this like? And what was that like? And it was actually a little bit, it was hard on my family for me to go do this ride in this project because it opened up a real big closet that everybody had kept locked away in the key. But the result of touching that pain and going and exploring it really did help me heal, helped our family heal. I kind of likened it to like if you break your arm and you break a bone and you just ignore it, it heals badly. And we really had to re-break open the bone and mend it and cast it. But initially it was painful. And like to Jaimie said, that balloon of like touch the pain and then come, it's like almost like a breathing. I was thinking of the lungs when you were doing that, which was really cool. And I was also thinking of sport, to progress in sport. You do a hard thing and then you rest. And you do a real hard thing and then you rest. So as we said at the beginning, the body and the mind are very connected. And so I really like that exercise in that way and the way that you explained it today, Jaimie. That was awesome.
Mm. So before we go to questions, is there anything else, Jaimie, you want us to be absorbing for your reflections for today?
We had one more thing, but I think we should shift to questions.
Yeah,
Um,
let me touch on the third thing for 2 seconds, and it won't
mhm.
even take long. So we've done present moment awareness, we've done acceptance, and then the third one is your values. And you can do this on your own but it's not just why you do what you do, but how you want to do what you do. And we've all heard Simon Sinek is like, it's not what you do, it's why you do it. We're taking that a step further. It's not why you do it, your values. I value sport, for example, or health. But how I do that, you can start to think of adjectives like how do you want to show
maybe we
up in
should
the world?
maybe we
Yeah.
should do it. Just word bath people. So if
Super
if
word bath.
Rebecca
Yeah.
says a word, type it in the chat if it hits you hard.
Yeah, so we can word bath if this works for you, and it's how you're going to show up in the world, positively, consistently, joyfully, compassionately, adventurously, healthfully, thoughtfully, gratefully, dependably, honestly, simply, spiritually, efficiently. So those are all, and if those are resonating, you can type them in, but this is a way to understand how do you want to show up, and especially in an area that is painful, hard. Okay, I'm going to show up honestly. I'm going to show up compassionately. I'm going to show up collectively. I'm going to show up joyfully. I'm going to show up healthily, like taking care of your health. So as you leave and do this exercise at home, and again, these are all in the slides that you'll have, but how do you want to show up? And often that will dictate how you do show up. It's like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do or how this is going to work, but I'm going to show up with compassion, or I'm going to show up faithfully, or whatever that is for you, your how words, which I think are really important right now. And that's an exercise you can adapt and do on your own. But yeah, helpfully, persistently, thoughtfully, honestly, integrity, super important to articulate these things that are the next layer of your values. So that was really quick exercise, but so important. Somatically, I love that. In your body, thoughtfully, mindfully, persistently. Yeah, you guys got it. You get the exercise. And that's only 3 of the steps that we can take.
So beautiful. Such a
Yeah.
great start. So Barbara, let me bring you on up for a question. And Kelly, I'm working on getting the slides in a format that we can easily share. So hello, Barbara.
Hello. Hi, I'm Barbara. I came late to the show, so I apologize if this is redundant. Um, One of my thoughts about kind of the moral outrage where a lot of people are feeling is that's good news. It's good news that we have moral pain and that we are human
Hmm.
and we're not
Hmm.
becoming numb to all the horrors in the world. And I think the more we can sit in the discomfort of being so disgusted and horrified by what's happening, that means we're still so fully human. And that's good news. That's not bad news, even though it's painful, but
Mhm.
it's solidifying that our humanity has not been lost in all of this. And that's great news. And this is my perspective how we're going to get it out.
Mhm.
When our voices become big enough and collaborative enough to take over the hatred that's out there and the fear and the anger, then I think we come out the other
Yeah,
side.
it's a
So,
great point. Really great point.
so instead of saying this is so horrible and taking us down, yes, it's hard. And these emotions are really hard, but they will not take us down. It means that I'm still fully alive and human and compassionate, and I haven't numbed out. And if it's when we numb out, that's really scary, I think. And we don't pay attention and it becomes the normative of all this horror. That's the scary part for me. But as long as we're still in pain, that's fabulous. I just wanted to
And I
add
will
that.
say we all sometimes numb out and get
Oh
panicked
yeah,
and
of
shut
course we
down.
have to. Right, exactly.
Right.
That's called surviving. We can't be in this
Mhm.
all the time. But I think
Mhm.
it's to kind of turn it around a little bit,
Mhm.
or maybe hold it a little bit differently. Like this isn't
Yeah.
bad news. This is just where we are right now.
Yeah.
I, don't- that helps me at least.
Mhm.
Great point,
Yeah.
Barbara.
Thank you.
Love it.
Julie, come on up.
Good morning. This is such great timing. I have been searching for something to like bring me back down and practice because for a person who comes from early childhood trauma and complex trauma that I've been working on many years to break apart and heal. My question is that it's a beautiful exercise that you folks provided. Is that something you can do as much as possible? And also, do you do it even if you're not in a traumatic response, like autonomic or parasympathetic response? I get the two mixed up. Can can you use it as a practice as well to build resilience, or just curious?
Absolutely. I think what people have been saying is, how do we stay embodied? Right. So actually, Rebecca and I are going to really hit this hard in our retreat, May 3rd through 7th, is you got to stay in the window of tolerance if you want to be responsive instead of reactive. So if you get out of this, you really can't act in line with your values. So if you're taking in so much pain in the world that you're dissociated or panicked, well, then you actually have to take in a little less. And there is ways to stretch our window of tolerance. So that's really what we're going to be hitting hard in our Wild Resilience Retreat on May 3rd through the 7th.
And
And
this
I
retreat,
do come see us. May
Yeah.
3rd through
are you
7th.
guys are you going to do something in
They
New
are,
Mexico?
there's a link in the chat. So Rebecca and Jaimie are going to be teaching May 3rd through 7th down at the ranch and bringing in a lot of movement, being outside, being together, talking this through. So
Yeah, and it's about building resilience with outdoor adventure. So it is a lot of connecting the body, the nervous system, and going through a lot of these experiences that Jaimie has in her work in psychology.
Cool.
yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Julie.
So,
Stephen
yeah.
wanted to ask what suggestions you both have to stay in that window of tolerance.
Well, come to our retreat and practice, because it is a practice. It really is a practice. So there's one of my mentors said, the point of good spirituality is to be able to enter into the suffering of the world in greater and greater measure. So that's a practice. And so we're going to be practicing in May together. I do have a free course on my website that's Act for Moral Distress that you could take. Disclaimer, I'm better at talking to people than the camera on my computer that I can't really see. So the videos are terrible, but it's free, so
In
don't
person,
complain.
she's good. Yeah.
Oh, good, you guys.
I have something to add, and this is where the physical part comes in, expanding the window of tolerance, just like that breathing exercise. So like, are you willing to sit and touch the, emotional pain? We're going to be touching a little bit of physical challenge to actually kind of get you used to being uncomfortable and then breathing and being okay, and then learning how to recover. So we're going to kind of teach you this physically and emotionally. So sport is a great way to actually expand your window of tolerance in a way that then you can take those concepts of like, oh, I did that hard thing. Okay, I can do another hard thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Rebecca
Yeah.
actually helped me change how I saw racing because she's a racer. I've raced at her race. She has a race called Rebecca's Private Idaho. We've seen each other at races. And one thing I learned from Rebecca is that competition can be a form of cooperation. So I have lined up on the start line with the famous Rebecca Rusch. And it's cooperation. She's rooting for me and I'm rooting for her. And we're both going to try to beat each other. I don't have a chance, but still I tried. um, so I think like you have a lot to learn from this 7-time world champion about how to navigate challenges from a resilient perspective.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and you guys are
Jaimie.
in good hands. You won't fall on your face. That Rebecca was
No,
carrying groceries.
it was not from a bike ride. No.
It was carrying. It's always the dumb things, so
Uh-huh.
that won't happen to you. But Vanita, let's bring you up. It's really good to see you.
Nice to see you, Kari. I wanted to ask a question about how do you think about how much to feel responsible for other people's moral distress? So I help a lot of women run for office and then they get death threats. And how responsible should I feel? I mean, they are grown-ups, but they might not have done this without a whole bunch of supporters, right? And investors. And I think about my team and the young people we hire who are in distress, like looking at political material every day. And how much I feel like I don't think I could have done this work at 22, But then they chose to work here.
So I absolutely love trauma-informed guilt reduction for you personally. There's a self-help version. I'm putting this in the chat, Transforming Your Guilt, by one of the people who invented it and researched it, Dr. Carolyn Allard. And it's kind of too hard to get into right now, but if you want to, you could email me and I'll tell you more, luskpsych@gmail. So really cool treatment for moral injury when guilt is the primary problem, and you really got to sort out adaptive and non-adaptive guilt and get rid of the non-adaptive guilt so you can live being informed by the adaptive guilt. And frankly, I'm so guilt prone, I got to do this all the time on myself. Pretty much every night before I go to bed, I feel guilty for something and have to be like, now, Jaimie, let's sort this out. Is it guilt because you violated your values, or is it guilt because you take responsibility for the world and every single client you ever see? Well, half and half. So this is one of my main tools for myself as well. So I could talk to you more offline about it if you want to know more.
Thank you so much.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Vanita. Wow. Do you guys feel like we could talk for another 2 hours? I know I do.
For 4 days in
4
Santa Fe.
days. And I was very excited. It's not something we do very often, but I really wanted this to be just for our alumni, specifically, because we are all part of a loving community that has trained to connect to each other from the inside out, and a place that we can talk about some of these kind of difficult experiences. Not that we couldn't for the wider group, but I wanted this to be something special for our alumni. And what gorgeous teachers do we have here with Jaimie and Rebecca, who teach from the inside out and from their own experience. And just by sitting with them, it gives us all hope that we can get through this. And we can. And so whether or not you can come we wanted you to be here now, to have a little benefit of their wisdom in real time. And so thank you guys for the incredible work that you do. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your own moral distress and how that has impacted the work that you do, who has impacted so many people who are then in turn impacting others in their own life in a positive way. That is why we're all here, is to touch to one another. So with that, thank you guys all for coming. We'll send the recording out. The gift Kelly will put in as well. Thank you, Kelly. So if you have any questions about how to access this, Kelly is your girl. she will get it all for you.
And comment in the Atrium event. I'll post the PDF and the slides in there and the recording. And if you can't find that and have a question, just email me, kelly@meawisdom.com. I will get it to you directly. No fret.
One way or the other, we'll make sure you get it in your hands. Thank you both so much for a really important time. Any last thoughts either one of you want to share before we close off?
I want to
Well,
thank MEA for like creating this kind of a space because you know, during a year ago, MEA changed my life. I came as a guest and deep in concussion recovery, and this community has really, really helped me. And so it's a gift to be able to stay part of it, be part of it. And yeah, I do. And thank you all for coming and for MEA for hosting us. It's really amazing to feel this is part of feeling like we're doing something good in the world and we're really making a difference. So I appreciate the platform so much and all of you who showed up.
well, and I just want to say that the ripple effects of Rebecca engaging in Lao is that I don't get to go back to Iraq, especially now, right? But I did get to go to Lao and see the damage we did, and I wear a bracelet that Rebecca helped me get. This was actually a bomb we dropped on Lao. So I don't get to make reparations in Iraq, but I get to help the Mine Advisory Group in Lao. And to me, that was a life-changing ripple effect of Rebecca's work.
Thank you, Jaimie. And I do hope we'll see you all in Santa Fe. And I can't wait, Jaimie, to spend some time with you there too.
Me too.
Thanks, Kari.
Thank you guys so much, everybody. Have a really beautiful day. Go touch somebody's life with your kindness.